Hi, my name's Willie and I'm a codependent. Got my water here, wilder than ever. Here we go. Going to talk about some loaded stuff today, folks. We got a board. We got some pictures, some words, some lines. Let's go. First thing we got to understand, as we work to integrate truth and faith into our life to solve our problems, we have to understand a few things. Now, in the previous video I made, I talked all about Buddhism and how Buddhism is total truth, okay, because it's rooted on your own self-experience. So now what we're going to talk about when we talk about Buddhism is we're going to talk about the Four Noble Truths contained within Buddhism, okay? So these are really important to understand, and we're going to talk about these Four Noble Truths. We're going to extract some information from those Four Noble Truths, and we're going to integrate them into this picture I got so we can understand a couple different ways to get out of it. Get out of it. Okay, anyways, here, let's go. So the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, this is what the Buddha taught, and this is what the Buddha discovered, and he discovered the way out. The way out. Now, if I was to teach you Buddhism, I'd say you follow the Eightfold Noble Path, you practice morality, you practice concentration, you practice gaining insight through your concentration to escape that. And I believe in that. And I agree with that. And in a sense, I'm teaching you that, but I'm not teaching you that. I'm teaching you something different. That's why I have a freaking YouTube channel. Gotta love water. All right, Four Noble Truths. Let's get into them. The first noble truth is that life is suffering. Now, I understand that this noble truth and this aspect of Buddhism turns a lot of people off, but bear with me, folks. I'm going to explain it. What does that mean? That means that at some point in your life, something is not going to be okay for you. That's all that means. That's all that means. You'll win some, you'll lose some. Okay? That you have to die, that you have to grow old, that you have to get fat, that you have to lose your teeth, that you have to lose your family, you have to lose your friends, you have to lose jobs, you have to live. And life is suffering in that there are things in life that are going to happen that are outside of your control. And when it is unfavorable, it is suffering. Okay? That's what the first noble truth is saying. Life is unsatisfactory. Life is suffering. Okay? In the second noble truth, it says life is suffering. That's the first. The second one is suffering is caused by craving. Okay, so this is really important. This is really important to understand, because in the first noble truth, we see that life is suffering, like existence is suffering. Okay, but in the second noble truth, we see that suffering is caused by craving. Suffering is caused by something that you do as an individual. So we see between the first and the second noble truths that in life there are things that happen that are outside of our control, and then we suffer depending on whether we crave or not. Those things, how we respond to the things that happen in life that are outside of our control determines whether we suffer or not. Basically, that's what the first two noble truths are saying. And it's saying that in the third and the fourth noble truths, if you end craving, if you end aversion, you end suffering. So you don't change life. You're not changing a component of life that says you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You're not changing that. But what you are doing is you're changing how you respond to the events in your life that are unfavorable. You're going to identify what craving and aversion are, and you're not going to do those things anymore to become detached and live life in a more peaceful and harmonious fashion. That's what the Four Noble Truths are. And then the problem with a theoretical teaching or understanding of the Four Noble Truths is that I take that information. I hear I go up to somebody who's a Buddhist and they tell me this stuff, and I say, okay, what are you saying to me? And I say, okay, well, I got it. I just don't crave, or I just don't be attached, or I just don't or I just don't want things, or I just don't have any desires, or I just let it go when it comes up. And although those things are true, that's not the way to do it. Because when you're in the moment and you're doing those things, you don't see that you're doing those things until you've suffered a long time. Trust me, that's how it works. That's how it all works, okay? So, on one aspect, we're missing a crucial component of the teachings of the Buddha, and that's how to end craving. Like, I don't know what craving is. I don't know how it manifests in my life, so therefore I don't know how to end it. I can theoretically say, oh yeah, it's easy, you just don't crave. But in real life, it doesn't work like that, you see? So, when we integrate truth and faith in terms of Willie's thinking, like, we can catch ourselves freaking out about something, and we can say, oh, I need to have faith in this. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And that can take you out of it, right? But if you don't know anything about Buddhism, right? I studied Buddhism, and I meditated, and I've been to these meditation things, and I know a little bit, so I can tell you. But if you don't know anything about Buddhism, you don't know what the truth in Buddhism is. Well, the truth in Buddhism is that life is suffering. So, when you can't understand or you can't discern any other truths, right, and you're lost, the only truth that you can take from Buddhism is that life is suffering. If I crave, I suffer. If I crave as a response to this thing that happened in my life that was unwanted, I suffer in addition to the loss, right? So we can understand that if I don't crave, then I don't need to suffer. Okay, I can exercise faith and I can stop my craving, but if I don't understand the truth that, okay, this is a loss. Loss is part of life. Loss happens. Life is losses and wins and losses. But it's kind of loss. Then you can't move on to faith. I mean, you can, but ultimately what you need to do is you need to take the truth from Buddhism that life is suffering, meaning that there's wins and there's losses. It's not all wins. Then you can exercise faith because you can understand that this problem is a loss and I need to exercise faith and I can come out of it. Okay, right? But the problem, because truly what it is understanding this stuff is self-inquiry, right? And I've preached self-inquiry, self-examination, self-discovery on this channel for 112 videos or whatever I got, right? But if you're not going to do that, I have to preach something else to you. And so what I'm preaching to you right now is about identification, okay? This is this is a slippery slope, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because when you initiate and you embark on a journey of self-discovery, what you're really doing is you're embarking on a journey of self-identification. Each little thing you discover about yourself changes the way you relate with yourself, and it changes the way you identify with yourself. So we have to understand, theoretically, a model of self-identification so we can therefore successfully integrate the information of truth and faith into helping us be at peace. So that's where this picture comes into play. And you're looking at this picture and you're like, Willie, what the heck is going on here? Well, I'm going to tell you. At the bottom, we've got a timeline. And we know that timelines exist in increments of life, death, and infinity, right? This timeline has two brackets, so that indicates an ending, life and death. But there's also an infinity sign in here suggesting that there is infinity. So we have death and we have infinity. We have death and eternal life. That's what we're looking at here. Okay, and then we have you right in the middle, right? Initially, I was going to do this as a, somebody's calling me. Ooh. All right, well, I got the phone call, and it helped me to remember something I left out on the sign. So anyways, we got you here in the middle, right? And I was going to do it one way, but I did it this way. It worked out better anyway. So we're going to talk about this. Okay, so on this end, we've got a turtle. And why the heck do we got a turtle? Okay, so you're in the middle. And all these things on this side are kind of, we're going to call this, we're going to call this side no man's land. We're going to call it unconscious, because on the other side, clear at the top, I'll show you here in a minute, I wrote consciousness. I wrote consciousness. So that's going to be unconsciousness, right? So we'll start at the beginning. If you identify as something that you are not, like if you identify as a turtle, what that means is that you're totally separated from yourself. You don't even know what you are. Like, you're a turtle, but you're clearly not a turtle, right? You wouldn't be watching this video if you were a turtle. So you're removed, you're separated, you're not connected with yourself. That's no man's land. That's unconsciousness, okay? So if you identify with something that you are not, you're lost, okay? Part of the journey. And with that comes an understanding of having an awareness and a respect for a place of no return, okay? Now, second is a rock star, okay? I put a rock star. That was something I wanted to be. So it is something that you are not. It is a little less obvious. I mean, it's a little more obvious than the turtle. I mean, less obvious in terms of something that you're not, because in society we have a construct of a rock star. And so what the heck is really a rock star? It doesn't make any sense. But we've created this imaginary image of a person that plays music and lives a rock and roll lifestyle or a rock star lifestyle. But really, you're not that. That's not what you are. That's not what you are. And so if you try to identify as a rock star, you're going to live like a rock star. Like if you identify as a turtle, you're going to act like a turtle, like that dog man on the internet, right? He's not a dog, right? But he spent all his money into that freaking suit. He's going to act like a dog. He's going to be removed from what he actually is, and he's going to be out here in no man's land. Same with Willie as a rock star, right? Living like a rock star, sleep until noon, partying all night, playing rock music. Man, out in no man's land, dude. I ain't no rock star. What the heck's a rock star? It's unconsciousness, part of the journey. The next level, I'm glad my friend called me because I forgot this, and then I was able to add it. Dr. Will, right? So you can be a doctor, right? That's something you can do. A rock star to me is a little bit like hazy. Like, what's a rock star? If you play music, you can be a rock star, right? But a doctor, no, like I go to work and my name's Dr. Will or Counselor Will, right? And I have a job and they pay me money, and okay, that's something I can be. Okay, now we're getting closer to me, and that's something I can be. I can be a doctor, I can be a counselor. I don't know about a rock star, right? But a doctor, yeah, that makes sense. I'm a janitor, right? That's something I am, but kind of still, what is that, right? It's just a label. But this is getting into a second part of delusion and unconsciousness, okay? Being a janitor, I don't want to tell anybody I'm a janitor because there's this social construct that says being a janitor is less than something else. And see, so that gets us to what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that when you take something that you are or something that you can be and you make it less or greater than somebody else, that's unconsciousness. That's no man's land. Like Dr. Will here. I went to med school. I put in all this time and money to become a doctor, and I'm a doctor because I wanted to be distinguished, and I wanted to get paid more than other people, and I wanted people to look at me with respect. My title of doctor makes me better than everybody else. See, that's unconsciousness. It's no man's land because that's not true. That is not true. So if you identify as being a doctor, you're going to act better than everybody else, and you're going to be cut off from everybody else, separated from everybody else, and you're going to be out here in no man's land. Okay, when you get to the level playing field of you, as being you, what you start to understand is that part of being me is having this mortal body existing on a timeline subject to death. Now, all these things are death out here in no man's land. I'm not really going to get into that. But they are, because if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you're not a turtle, dude, and then when life shows you that you're not a turtle, your image of how life was dies. It shatters. And that allows you to grow. Okay? Similarly with being a rock star. When I tried to be a rock star, life showed me that was crazy. That was ridiculous. My delusion of who I was, who I identified with, died, crumbled, and then I was left with only will, right? So, but when you start to get closer to realize who you are, and you start to identify with who you are on the mental and physical level, this is me, I'm here, I'm sitting here. I have this body, I weigh 230 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. But as I get older, 37 years old, every year takes me closer to this inevitable reality that I am going to die. Right? Life is suffering. I am going to die. Part of that suffering is that I have to grow old. I have to get fatter. I have to die. My hair falls out. My teeth fall out. Right? This is suffering. I have to die. I have to die. And when I don't understand the truth that life is suffering, and I don't understand that part of that suffering is me having to physically die, and I don't want to look at that, and I can't accept that, and I'm not willing to, then I'm going to suffer. Then I'm going to suffer. But there are ways out, and that's what this side over here is for, my friends. That's what this side over here is for. Okay? Stepping out of life and death, stepping out of the confines of time into eternity. And that's what we're talking about, folks. And the first aspect, let me draw this in here. I wanted to do it. I thought it would be really cool. Moving beyond you is the energy you. I don't know if you can see it. I made it really faint for the sake of fun. The energy being. I'm an energy being. So what does an energy being do? What does an energy being believe? If you identify as an energy being, what are the principles that are going to govern your life? Right? If you believe you're an energy being, but then you but you act like a turtle, you don't believe you're an energy being. I'm sorry. Because beliefs precede action. Beliefs precede action, folks. And this is what the spiritual journey is all about. It's all about a journey of identification. Dying, being reborn, dying, being reborn, dying, being reborn, until we arrive at the purest sense of what we really are. Right? But an energy being, if I'm an energy being, I'm gonna adhere to the principles of energy. I'm gonna believe the principles of energy. I'm gonna think about things in terms of energy. I'm gonna start to understand energy, right? Or maybe you don't. I didn't draw that, but if I could draw, I would draw like a little child and like a picture of Jesus right here. Maybe you don't believe you're an energy being. Maybe you believe you're a child of God. America's a Christian nation. Many nations in the world are Christian nations, religious nations. A child of God. If you believe you are a child of God, if you identify as a child of God, what does that mean? That means that there's something out there that loves you. So you're going to act in accordance with whatever they say. And because you identify with that, so you're going to believe that, you're going to act that way. That's going to help you because God offers you eternal life. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It only changes forms. You see what I'm saying here? Do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see what I'm saying here, folks? So, if you believe you're a child of God, you know that God made you. He sent you here, and he sent his son to die for you so that you may be saved because you make mistakes, and you've always got problems, and you don't know how to get out of them. Maybe you don't know the truths, right? Maybe you know faith. Okay, good. We're integrating both now. This is wonderful. See what I'm saying? See? Or maybe you do know the truths, and you've practiced some self-discovery and some self-examination and some self-inquiry, and you've made it over here to consciousness, and you identify as pure consciousness. So if you identify as pure consciousness, what are you going to do? You're going to practice being conscious, because consciousness is eternal. Think about it. Consciousness is eternal. If I sit here and I look out, and I don't think, and I just perceive, that's infinite. That is infinite right there. That is infinite. If I am on my deathbed and I die, I watch a lot of near-death experience videos. I love those videos. You ever watch those? It's like NDE Journey Channel or something on YouTube. I love near-death experience videos, and I watch those videos a lot. And they all say the same thing. They died, they ascended out of their body, they looked at their body, they saw the environment their body was in, And then they were like jettisoned off, and they returned to like source, and there was these images of these like ephemeral, like these pseudo images of these people, and they're talking to them. And what is all that's consciousness? That is all consciousness. I'm conscious of some they can't ever see their bodies, right? When they're outside of their bodies, like they're just like, yeah, I just saw my body. Like they were consciousness of the body. They were consciousness of the room the body was in. They're conscious of like going through a vortex of time and space, right? And then they're conscious of being in a place filled with infinite love. Like, and then they talk to somebody and they're conscious of this. Like, it's consciousness. So if you identify as a conscious being, what do? How do you behave? Well, you practice being conscious. You practice being present. You practice being aware of your thoughts and aware of your feelings and aware of the thoughts and the feelings of others. And you practice being aware of when your consciousness becomes hijacked by some aspect of unconsciousness within you, right? This is also called attachment over here. I was attached to the feelings of the rock and roll show. I was seduced by rock and roll. So I became attached to wanting to live in that experience continually. And I did. And I died. So identifying with some aspect of infinity, of eternal life, that's the way out. That's the way out, folks, because it allows you to access consciousness. It allows you to access faith. It allows you to access those deeper rooted principles that govern how things really work in this world, this universe, which you are a part and component of. And it allows you to discover who you are, and by doing that, change how you identify and relate with yourself. And that, my friends, and that, folks out there, is the process. That's all it is. That's all it is. Woo! All right, I hope you enjoyed 2222. Until next time, we'll see you later.